this computer, and then we'll get it going. We've got one parent here, and I think two more coming. So you're okay with the screen? See the screen? Everything's okay?
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. Yeah, we'll start in 4 minutes.
All right.
All right. About 2 minutes left before we start. I'll give a brief intro. And by I mean brief, I mean really brief, man. Like the title of what we're doing today, and then I'm gonna turn it over because it looks like you got this you got this plan to a T, which is excellent. Um, and then it'll be in the resources section of the platform, so everybody will be able to access the support. So
Okay. Sounds good.
all right.
How was yesterday's event?
Oh, it was great, man. We ended up with close to 60 kids. Couple of the people, well, good and bad. A couple of the hosts dropped without telling me. So we ended up only with like 6 employers, but they were so happy, right? Because they're all the kids were like there for them.
Right.
Uh, they ended up with a bunch of sign-ups. A bunch of kids are happy because they got access to, people who were basically offering jobs and internships. So I'm going to turn it over to the students next year, Ben, and that's something that you and I will talk about. I
Okay. Sounds good. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
expected next year.
But I'm glad, it went smoothly and we have so many like, students to stop by and, inquire some like opportunities and yeah, it's a great place, to connect everyone over there. Yeah.
I think you and I we've talked about expanding that into other areas, and I think that that's something that we should really explore going forward. But for now, we will direct it another way. Good
Right.
afternoon, everyone. Welcome to HW Works Finding and Funding International Opportunities with our esteemed Professor Ben Ha, the leader of our China Studies program. He's the president of basically the Chinese Teachers Association, Southern California. We've got a jewel on our hands. And Ben is going to be able to give this lecture. I know there's a description. He's actually going to be able to give this presentation with the backdrop, with the lens of his spring break trip to Thailand, which has just been overwhelmingly complimented and praised. And so I'm actually interested to see what that trip had to offer in reference to this. So by all means, Ben, take it away. The show is yours.
Thank you, Kwazi, for your, warm coming. And I saw a couple of students are joining our sessions. And yeah, thank you everybody for your time. And I'm going to share my screen right now so that you can see my slides. Okay. All right. So, hi everyone. I'm Bing He, and I'm the teacher, a Chinese teacher here at Harvard-Westlake. And I'm also the co-founder of our HW Global Leadership Institute. And I'm really glad you're here today. So this session is called From Idea to Impact. That's exactly what we're going to talk about. So, um, so my question will be, I will start with a quick question. So, like, for example, like as a student, how do you take something small, a question, a passion, or even like a random thought and turn it into something real? Something that like, create impact across cultures and countries. So, um, as a teacher at Harvard-Westlake, over the past few years, I have had the privilege of working with the students who have done exactly that. So today, I will share some like their stories and walk you through some simple strategies and hopefully spark some ideas for your own journal. So yeah, let's just start. So, this is what we're going to go cover today. And yeah, let's just begin. Let me just begin with a project, called Ignea Education, which is started by our Howard Wesley student during the pandemic. So they learned about the deadline school in Beijing, which serves the like children of the immigrant worker. For many of you who are not familiar with like the immigrant workers situation in China, their children are not allowed to go to the public school system. So one of our student heard about this situation, and then they just asked me like so what can we do and so we partner with the deadline school, and in the beginning like we just think about how about like we just do the tutor service for this like a group of for this group of student who come from the like low income families. And then we at in the beginning, fewer than like 10 Harvard Westlake students volunteer to tutor online, and it's just very simple like Zoom calls. And but over the times, the small act grow. In the past 2 years, they have reached more than like this is the at the beginning we only have a few students as you can see of the schedule. And then after 2 years later, this program started to grow, and we got like more than almost like because this is a the screenshot from their the Instagram account. So in those past 2 years, they have reached out more than like actually 60 students across different provinces in China, and supported by like more than 30 students from Howard Westlake and the other schools in from Los Angeles. So they also created some videos, worksheet for students with like a limited like internet access to just ensure no one was left out. And all this started with one question, one idea, and a handful of students who decided to act. So this is just a screenshot for the the growing enrollment of our tutoring program in the past. And I would say like you don't need to start big. You just need to start with purpose. And I also want to highlight that during this tutoring program, one student was so inspired, so she decided to launch her own project through the organization we call the IGNIA. So she had a dream to build a library for the a village in Kenya. And she started by making a budget, and she began raising money through the free tutoring sessions and fundraising event. So as you can see, there's a very clear, like a budget estimation here. And then break by break, literally, she raised enough funds and from a few, breaks and to the, the foundation of the base for this like library, and then to the roof, and as you can see, the entire library was built and open to the community. So once again, like what I said, you don't need to start big. You just need to start with a purpose and let it grow. So this year, we launched a new initiative, the Career Exploration Trip, which I co-designed with our school leadership team. So we took the student to Singapore and Indonesia to explore how the industries work around the world, and to speak directly with the leaders in the field. So as you can see, in Singapore, we visit like 4 different types of companies, and students learn how the career and the impact can go hand in hand. And many just started to see the career paths not as the fixed lanes, but as platforms for change. So let me see if we got a couple of students here. Sarah, I saw you are here. Sarah, we would love to hear from you, what did this like international experience like mean to you personally?
Yeah, I think I took away a lot from this trip. At first, I had no idea what it was, and I think that was so powerful because we just had such a diverse range of experiences. So Singapore was more like meeting these, some up and coming, some people who have been there for a long time, and just getting to talk to them and learn from them about what they've done to succeed was really valuable because I think a lot of times people assume like teenagers like can't do things or you're too young, but we were treated like we were professional and we deserve to be there and learn, which was so powerful. I even got to meet like the vice president of Universal Music Group, and I learned that I'm like seriously considering doing like study abroad in Singapore in college, maybe getting an internship there. And then on the other hand, Indonesia was completely different. So that was where we saw the mine. But in addition to seeing the actual company, we saw like life on the island. So we got to go to this tree nursery. Oh, that's us planting the seeds at the tree nursery. And then we got to interact with the local students. And I think that just gave us a really well-rounded view of life there. And I think our group even came up with some ideas for how we could help the tree nursery business grow more. Because we
Yeah,
also saw a maggot farm. And wait, Nate, I see you're also there. Do you want to talk about
yeah.
that?
Thank you, Sarah, for mentioning that. That definitely make this, gathering more meaningful. And yeah, Nate, because I just want to quickly give our audience about this background, okay? So, and definitely you feel free to, step in and just share more about your like following up, initiatives. So, like Sarah mentioned, after visiting Singapore, and then we visited like a mining company in Sumbawa in Indonesia. But part that inspired us most is not just the high-tech mining. It was the community sustainability work. So in this company at MN, they collaborate with the local women to grow the native trees for the reforesting station, and operate like a magnet farm to turn food waste into the organic, fertilizer and the animal food. And while we were there, Sarah and Nate were our students. Just we also did a lot of like hands-on, activities, like what you can see on the right. Our student helped, plant, I think, more than 250 seeds and 30 trees, so it was messy, but and hot, but it was deeply like meaningful. So what happened after we came back? So some students like, Nate and Emma, so they decided to like they feel like, oh, we have, it's not the end of our journal. So they have started working on the follow up like project focused on the tree planting campaigns and the sustainable like farming. So Nate, um, thank you again. I see you are in the car. So would you like to just share a quick note and what are you and Emma are planning? And also, like maybe just to give us a little bit, elaborations, like why do you guys want to continue this, like initiatives? Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. All right. So first, I'll just talk about the plan we came up with, and then I'll just talk more broadly about the trip. So basically, right, Hulash already described how when we were in this Indonesian island called Sumbawa. Oh, hey Emma, we went to a plant nursery and a maggot farm, and the mining company there has an initiative to help out the local community and economy through strengthening their businesses and supporting their businesses. So when we went to those two businesses, we quickly recognized, or I quickly recognized, and we all kind of jumped in on this idea, the possibility for a partnership between the two business. For example, the maggot farm creates fertilizer, which can be used for the plant nursery to grow plants, then and like food. And then the food waste that comes out of that plant nursery will then be given back to the maggot farm, eaten by the maggots, and that creates more fertilizers. So it's a circular flow. And Emma and I were really inspired by this idea because we thought it was a really simple, easy partnership to put together if like the cost analysis work. So literally 2 days ago on Monday, Emma and I at lunch drafted an email to the mining company detailing all the questions we needed answered for the cost analysis to see if the partnership works or not. We sent it off and we already got a response. We got half of the data we needed from the plant nursery side, and we're still waiting on the maggot farm side. But it's really exciting to see an opportunity to make actionable change, especially in an area where those people are actually pretty poor in the local community. It's pretty impoverished. So I'm just looking forward to working on a business type project for kind of one of the first times in my life. Now, I know that was a lot of talking about the what Emma and I are doing specifically, but really quickly, I just want to broaden everything to just why take the trip. Halasha, I don't know if this is exactly the point of this meeting, but I see people on this call. I saw, yeah, Ryan Hong, Jane Zong, Dawson. I know you guys, most of these people, I think, and this is such a great trip as a senior to take because it does two things. One, you just got to travel and see like the most beautiful sights you've ever seen, have the coolest experiences. I ate dinner with two billionaires and then I released turtles on beach. Like so cool. But then the second hand of this trip, which is also incredibly valuable, is meeting with business people like on the island of Sumbawa, where we got to meet with the mining companies, tech companies, daycare, I don't know, education centers, and talking to all of them and getting advice on what it takes to be a successful business person and understanding their philosophies. I feel like that prepared me as a 12th grader to feel confident in entering the next stage of my life in college towards adulthood. And I really recommend it to all of you juniors right now. We're going to be in 12th grade because I think it was so incredibly valuable for both of those reasons. The travel's lit and the learning is great.
Thank you, Nate. That's very inspiring because I saw Emma also turn on her camera. So Emma, would you like to add any other things like, considering you are also very like, our important members in the trip, just maybe if you want to add anything about your like, the following up, initiatives related to this, the nursery project, and also like your personal experience about like, the international trips we just, experienced. Yeah.
Yeah, I think this trip was such a great opportunity to sort of like broaden my perspective on the world because especially going to like an LA, like a private school in LA, we're very like enclosed to a space where we're very privileged. But on this trip, I got to see so many different people from different backgrounds and cultures, and especially on the mining trip to Zimbabwe, it was just like so like eye like awakening to see that like there are actually people who live in such a very different climate than we do. And that just sort of like really inspired me to just like try to understand people more and to also take action in ways that I can sort of help them. Yeah. And it was also, this trip was a great opportunity for me to also meet new people. Yeah, I've had a lot
Thank
of fun.
you. Yeah, thank you, Emma. And so I um as a teacher and also the designer for this trip, I'm so glad to see Sarah, Nate, and Emma, in these trips. They're not only just to explore themselves, but also they think about like how to bring the impact to the local community, through these like initiatives. So because we have a very limited time, and I want to leave more time for our the audience to have some like questions, or maybe they have some initiatives want to announce. So so the
Oh,
last
please,
part.
Ben, by all means, keep going as long as you have to. We've got a limited audience, and the information that you're giving is amazing, particularly those perspectives from Emma and Nate, which you'll appreciate it. So you can continue to go.
Okay, great. Good. That's good to know. Yeah. Thank you, Kwasi. So, uh, then the next thing I want to, just quickly talk about is like, how to start your own like, global like project. I think, what I just listed about IGNIA, or like there's a like, what these like three lovely students like Sarah, Emma, Nate, like what they just said, I would say like first of all, just identify your spark, like what issues, like, or what is, if there's anything inspire you, and you can just start from there and just think about, who are your people, like your peers, mentors, teachers, or, even your parents, like who you are going to work with. And then, build up a simple, like, framework. So set up your goal, find your partner, and figure out like the platform. So I also want to shout it out for the HW Works here. So yesterday they just successfully hosted the career fair. So, all these like, amazing event can be your platform to connect the people you want. And the next step will be leverage the resources. So, Harvard-Westlake is such a resource for, place. So I would say like even in your class, when you do your project, so anything could turn into some like an impactful like project, and you don't have to wait for the opportunities like provided by school. You can also create your own like project or the organizations. And then, of course, you have to think about like to grow, so recruit a few like reliable like members in the team. And also like think about like what is a which what is your like the milestones you are going to reach to or realize. The last one, definitely you have to think about like make it as a long-term like plan. So definitely it takes longer time than you thought to maintain your project, and to make sure this can last longer, and engage the community, and also make sure everybody has some like the belongings. So I'm going to stop here because I saw some students like they want to I definitely, the purpose of this, sessions, I would love to hear some students like, I don't know if today's like, conversation is already like, trigger your ideas, or if you have any ideas you want to share, or like, if you are here just to want to ask like if there's any like opportunity to get some internship. So it's a time. So please, turn on your camera and feel free to ask me questions. Or if you feel like, hey, Mr. He or He 老师, I have a couple of like ideas want to, share to ask for the, more people to join me. So it's a time. All right. All right, Ryan. Yeah.
All right, 大家好. Hello, everyone. I'm with Anthony.
Hello.
One of my good
Yo.
friends.
Yeah.
What's up, Nate?
What's up, bro?
I guess we kind of just want to talk about an idea that we think aligns well with, what Mr. He also talks about all the time, which is, obviously he's done great things already this summer with what Sarah and Nate was talking about, creating a custom program for students to, go internationally and look at these businesses and see, kind of what aligns with their interests. And Anthony and I kind of, want to follow something in that space. We both are very interested in international relations and political science. And we've kind of wanted to start sort of a project that will be along those lines. And our idea is what we're going to call the Global Youth Initiative, or Global Youth Engagement, rather. Anthony, if you want to talk about what we want to do.
Yeah, and so I mean, we kind of identified the issue of just the polarization between the U.S. and China, especially just, I mean, almost the demonization between the two. There's just not a lot of connection, especially in like youth groups. There's just such a cultural divide and political divide between the two places, and we think that being able to bridge the gap culturally can then open up a space and a pathway for political conversations, economic conversations to take place in the future. And especially starting with youth, it's a really easy way to connect. As we're high school students, we would want to go into different high schools and have these important conversations in order to really bring the two places together to where important and productive conversations can happen to bring out some positive impact. And
Yeah.
if you want to go into how we were.
Oh, yeah, Nate, you have a question?
Yeah, maybe you were about to say this. First of all, I think that's a great idea, and I totally support it and think that's needed. I was wondering, because you were talking about China, America relations, you know how we've had those like international students come to school like every year from Wilsa? Were you about to talk about that? Like maybe when they come next time, you could like facilitate more of a talk about political stuff, if that's safe. I don't know, but maybe that could be a resource. That's literally the youth of China that comes to the Harvard-Westlake.
For sure. And, great minds think alike. So, Nate, I think we're already thinking that. Ms. Hill also had that idea as well. So I think that idea is very great, actually. Because, those students are coming from, first off, Shanghai, which is a pretty international city in China. It's like one of the financial hubs of East Asia. So it'd be interesting to see how their perspective might lend useful information, as they're also, it's not like they're isolated, right? They're also very well connected globally. So it would be interesting to see.
And then that's what we were just going off your point of like if we're able to jump into those political conversations, is that's sort of why we were. I mean, it's gonna have to be an elongated process, definitely, so that you have to start with the cultural and getting to know the people that you just may not have such an immediate connection with, in order to make the steps towards those more heavier or maybe controversial topics that you might need more building up to.
Actually,
Yeah. Go ahead, Quasi.
Actually, it's for a couple of you on here. Anthony and Ryan, your idea seems extremely interesting and provocative. I'm wondering if you've identified anybody locally that you might want to team up with, whether it's internally here at Harvard-Westlake or other students that have, like minds when it comes to kind of sort of highlighting, ameliorating, or even repairing relations with China, depending upon how you're looking at it. The second question is for Nate and Sarah. I'm wondering how this trip, this kind of sort of exposure, because I know you both have pretty intense music backgrounds, how if it impacted it in any. And the third one is for Emma. Emma, this is right up your alley, right? International business, international relations. What was reinforced from this trip? And then also, what I guess did you learn? And I guess any of you can take it in any order you want.
And also, Sarah. Yes, Sarah is also the part of, like a team in the trip.
Oh.
Yeah.
I guess we'll just go since we're already talking about it. I think your question was about have we thought about any relations internally or externally yet. We were talking about it a bit earlier with Hilasha. And he actually he was saying how the places that the trip went to in Indonesia, he already has connection, like he could set us up with that school as well as the school that brings over those students from Shanghai. So that in terms of that, I think those are already two good places to, launch pad off of.
And
yeah.
also just the Chinese teachers internally in Southern California,
Yeah.
just how those connections can get us into classrooms here and sort of get great larger exposure just
Yeah.
in Southern California.
Yeah. So I think for right now, we have like a good idea of how spread out we want to be.
Mhm.
Yeah, I guess I'll take the next question. Mr. France, you asked me like, how did the trip impact me and possibly even through the lens of music? Ryan just mentioned how Halasha was telling him how we visited a school in Indonesia, and we actually became friends with like the entire student council of the school because that's who greeted us, and they were so cool. So generally, I was so surprised with how similar they were to us because they consume like a bunch of like Western media. This one dude sounded like he was from East LA. Like he could have fooled me. I could have seen this guy on the street and wouldn't have like batted an eye. So that was just like a shock. I don't know. The kids from Wilsa from China, you can tell that we're like a little different culturally. We sound a little different too. But these kids were like just like us. So that was pretty wild and pretty cool. We became friends instantly. And there was this one moment when we were touring their school and we went to the music room. I started playing guitar, like singing, and we were all singing the lyrics to, man, what's it called? When I Was Your Man by Bruno Mars. And it was just another cool bonding moment. And this kid named Valdi, who's a G, he's very similar to me in the way that we love music and we play kind of all of the band instruments and we like teach our friends instruments to help us out with songs. So lots of similarities in general and more specifically to my music passion.
This is gonna sound weird, but when I went to Singapore, I think I noticed how comfortable I felt there. Like, in a way, I felt kind of at home there. I was like, I can see myself living here. I can see myself doing business here. And I think after the trip, I was also getting my college results and everything. And I sort of just had an idea of like what I could see myself doing in college. I realized just how how much business is just a big part of every industry. So I realized that I want to do a minor at the Wharton School. I want to study abroad in Singapore. And someone I met is actually a double alumni of Harvard-Westlake and then the college I'm going to. And I found that that program has an internship. And I'm like, in college, I'm going to try and do that internship. And I think it also just gave me a lot of confidence, the trip. Like, I can talk to people. I can work hard, but also seeing my teammates on the trip, just realizing how lucky I was to like be with this group because I felt like they were pushing me to like, think about things, to be curious about the world around me, Nate, Emma, Dale, and Nadia. Because as much as the trip was about seeing the world around us, it was also about making a connection within our little group. And I think these are people that I'm gonna keep in touch with for a long time. So yeah.
That school you're going to has a robust alumni presence in Singapore. Something to think about. And then also, Dale, I forgot about you, your perspective as well. I know, Emily, you're up next.
I don't think bro's on the call.
Oh, he's not? Okay.
Okay, so I can go. I think, sorry, what was the question again? I sort of forgot.
How the trip impacted, how your trip, particularly because it's right up your alley with international business, international relations, what it was for the trip that confirmed some of your thoughts about what you're going to get into, and then what about it was like, whoa, this is different than what I thought it would possibly be.
I think during this trip I really realized that the culture of a country really like dictates what the environment is like, and also the type of business and how they run their business as well. I thought that was really interesting because one of the companies that we visited called Trey House, it really focused on like creating a third space for parents so that they can work while also watching their children. And I thought that was really interesting because I feel like well, I heard that like in Singapore there's a lot of dual income families, and so that is one of the priorities that they have in Singapore, to balance work and life with their children. And so that was a really interesting thing that I saw. And I just think like with the different cultures in countries, like it just dictates like how, like what the focus of the business is. Sorry, I don't know if that makes sense.
Oh, got you, for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Emma, Sarah, Nate, and Ryan. Like I think this is a great gathering. Like not only just to hear from my this year's like observation and some like something I want to share with you guys, but also to hear back from you guys. Like no matter it's your individual like a first-hand experience about like international travel, or like talking to the business entrepreneurs, and also like just to share your initiatives like about like how to build up like make a meaningful like impact through your own like path. That definitely makes this like this conversation meaningful. Yeah. And also like Quasi, I appreciate, you just, ask this kind of like very inspiring questions, that definitely make this conversation more like, like a constructive, I would say. Yeah. So Mark, I saw you turn on your camera. So it seems like you have a question, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think I was asking maybe for like Nate and like Sarah. I heard you guys are like continuing your project, right? I think so. Yeah. I just want to ask like
Yeah.
like how you guys like handling continuing to make it like push forward instead of like slowly fizzle out? Because I know maybe like among student projects or just projects in general, it's really common if you're not online mainly, that so like fizzles out over time. Are you guys meeting like weekly or like monthly, or like how you guys like trying to like combat that person?
That is a good question. Basically, we actually don't have a total set plan, but I think the reason for that is because it's a relatively simple initiative. Like basically, all we need is a few questions answered, and we can do some basic addition and subtraction, like cost analysis stuff, and then we'll get an answer that either this partnership works or doesn't. But I think we're all like clearly really inspired, and we don't expect this to take too long. If we get to a point where we get the cost analysis stuff back and we want to move on to another phase and help facilitate more things, maybe some more structure will be involved. But for now, it's like a very simple project. So we haven't made it like a huge long-term plan yet. But good question, because I don't want this to fizzle out.
Got one parent question then, and then I'll probably close this out because I know your students have class in 5 minutes. And it's a pertinent one. How do you join this kind of trip? Is there an application process? Is it open to all students at Harvard-Westlake?
Yeah, it's open to the all the upper school students, because it's an international trip. So and we plan to run this like continuously next year. So just be aware of the the emails from students, and we will also post it on our Color Center's like website. So yeah, feel free to just also like reach out to me and or Quasi, and yeah, we will be happy to including all of you who are interested. Yeah. All right, Quasi. So I also have the next block class. And,
Exactly. Ben,
And
thank you so much. students, thank you so much. This will be in the resources section of the platform saved. Everybody take care.
Thank you, everyone.
All right. Thank you, Halasha.
好，
I hope you
thank you,
guys all
Nick.
take the trip. See ya.